Hey guys, welcome to another movie review. Today I'm talking about the new Ghostbusters film, which is called Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. This is a sequel to Ghostbusters Afterlife that came out in 2021, I believe. And it is a continuation in that continuity of that Ghostbusters franchise all the way back from 1984. So if you're kind of considering the overall timeline, this is basically the fourth Ghostbusters film, even though I know we had that reboot from 2016. This is kind of the fourth in the overall continuity of the Ghostbusters franchise. And like I said, it's called Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. But in this movie, guys, basically we follow the Ghostbusters. They are back in New York City. We do follow both the new and the old Ghostbusters this time around. So if you haven't seen Afterlife, be sure you do before seeing this movie because it does follow basically right after the events of that movie. And so it's basically summer vacation. The kids from that Afterlife movie, they're basically doing an internship with the Ghostbusters. They're basically not getting paid for their work, but they want to help out the Ghostbusters. There's that ghost resurgence that's been really big in New York. They have to take care of that. And while all of that's going on, there is eventually a big ice monster ghost that is basically the biggest threat they've ever had. Their proton packs don't work against it. They have to figure out what exactly they can do to kind of stop the ghost. There's another character that I won't get into details on because it could be spoiler territory, regarding a character that basically helped unleash this ice ghost that also kind of plays a big role into all of this going on. So over the course of this movie, basically we have to follow the old and the new Ghostbusters, figure out how to stop this new ice ghost, figure out some new technology they could use to stop the ice ghost since it's not going to be just another ghost in the neighborhood they have to stop. And over the course of this movie, they have to figure out what exactly is this ice ghost looking for. How can they stop it? What are some things that the ice ghost is looking for that they have to kind of play around with? Whether it is a character with fire powers, like you'll see in the movie when you see it, but overall, they have to stop the ice monster before it's too late. But overall, guys, I enjoyed this movie. It's not the best Ghostbusters movie. I'll just straight up tell you right away. It's not the best one. I think we have had better Ghostbusters films in the past. I still personally like the original one the best and Ghostbusters Afterlife the best. Those are my two favorites of all these movies, I would say. This one's it's better than Ghostbusters 2 from back in the day, but it's not. It doesn't surpass that by a lot. It is a better movie in my opinion, but it doesn't surpass it by like a landslide or anything like that. I don't think it's significantly better than that movie. But the both films I would say are good, but they're not like amazing sequels or anything like that. So let's go over some positives and negatives as to why I enjoyed this new Ghostbusters film, why it's not the best one, but there's still things about it that are that could have been better as well. But overall, for my positives and negatives of this movie, while I get this notification off my computer here, there we go. All the old and new Ghostbusters are here. So if you're one of those people that liked just the kids from Afterlife, if you want to see the original Ghostbusters do more ghost busting like they did since 1984, we do get to see those Ghostbusters again. Obviously, Harold Ramis has passed away, so he's not there, but we do see Bill Murray, we do see Ernie Hudson, we do see Dan Aykroyd, we do see Annie Potts, so we do see a lot of them in this movie. And so we do see the old and the new team up. It really does feel like we are back in 1984 as this Ghostbusters team where the paranormal activity has kind of surged at its highest since then, since obviously in 1989's Ghostbusters 2, they were kind of in a lull and they were trying to figure out what the Ghostbusters were at that time. So we are kind of in a weird place where it's not as busy as the events were in that first movie, but it's definitely that resurgence that the Ghostbusters needed where they need to stay in business again. And so it's cool to see both the old and the new Ghostbusters team up for such work like that. I also like how this new villain is tough and new, and we really haven't seen this villain before. But he's tough. He's one of those characters where the simple proton pack will not take him out. You have to think of something else to take him out. Similar to the Keymaster and the Gatekeeper from the first movie, there is a character he's looking for that he tries to stop because he's worried it is going to stop his plans. So it's kind of a similar plot to that, but I do like how it is a new villain. I like how it's the toughest villain they faced yet. It is definitely not another, they need a proton pack to stop the one ghost. They do have to do something additional to stop him this time. And like I said, it's always great to see, new blood, new villains, all that kind of stuff. So it isn't just a rehashed villain. They do have a new villain for this one, and it was great that they went about it that way. I also like the new addition of the drone ghost traps. They also updated some of the Ghostbusters equipment because, like I said, the simple proton pack will not stop the ice monster this time around. So they do have to kind of update the equipment. There's new things that they do with it. And I do like the idea of a drone ghost trap where it can fly up into the air. So if they're too out of reach, if the car isn't going, if the Ecto One car isn't going to reach the ghost in time, they have a way of reaching it up in the sky with something else, with another form of equipment. So I do like the idea of a drone ghost trap. I think that's pretty new and inventive. And there's also new laboratories introduced in this movie that kind of show what the Ghostbusters business is up to and kind of how they're going to keep up and be able to store away more ghosts rather than just the one at the firehouse still and stuff like that. So I do like all the new stuff that they introduced to us as far as the new equipment went. Slimer's also back, so for those who like Slimer, for those who missed him in Ghostbusters Afterlife, because I think we had a new ghost named Muncher in that one, we do have Slimer back in this movie, so it is great to see such a fan favorite character of the franchise return for this new Ghostbusters film. Lots of fun with him. Eats a lot of food, like you would probably expect. So it was great seeing Slimer again. He does have a joke here where the whole audience was roaring when he showed up for this one part. So Slimer's back. Great to see him. And as always, he's eating a lot of food throughout the movie. There's also a lot of fun nostalgia with this movie. They do, like I said, a lot of nods to the original. They do have like the mini Stay Puft Marshmallow Men from the Ghostbusters Afterlife, like what I have here, the mini forms of that. Just characters that you're familiar with, characters that you want to see show up in a Ghostbusters film. Most of those come back. So it's great to see some fun nostalgia thrown in over the course of this movie. I also like this new Patton Oswalt character that's introduced in this movie. Patton Oswalt has a role in the movie, and he's kind of like this intelligent person that knows a lot about ghosts and is able to help out the Ghostbusters, kind of help them be more knowledgeable about this ghost that they're going up against. So it's cool to see him play a role in this. And he's very intelligent. He's definitely kind of along the line of Dan Aykroyd's character, but has like knowledge in other areas and stuff like that. So cool to see him show up here. Has a fun little character as he pops up throughout the movie, I would say. And it was just great to see the New York setting again. It was great to see another Ghostbusters story take place in New York. Ghostbusters Afterlife was more so in like a small town, different area, near New York, but not really. But it was cool to see kind of the New York setting come back and bring us back to kind of the Ghostbusters setting that we're all known and loving for this franchise. But for the negatives of this movie, though, you guys, unfortunately, the first half of this film is extremely slow. It does take a very long time for this film to get going. I would say once the ice monster shows up, once some of the more original Ghostbusters show up, that's kind of when the film kind of finds its footing and really kind of picks up the pace to where it should have been over the course of the entire film. Um, it really does take a long time to get going. There's just a lot of drama with miners working on the Ghostbusters team. They kind of play around with that a little bit, and then they just kind of drop it completely. But like I said, that first half is extremely slow. It really has a hard time getting going. So that is one aspect of the film that could have been better, is just giving the story going at a much faster pace. I also thought we could have used more Bill Murray. He's kind of the one original Ghostbuster that I think could have been used more in this movie. So I don't know if it's. I know he's had issues in the past of saying no to Ghostbusters 3, only accepting a cameo in the reboot, only appearing for the Afterlife movie for a little bit and stuff. So I know he's been kind of a troublemaker as far as staying on board for the rest of the franchise after Ghostbusters 2. But I really do think we needed more of him. He's one of those characters where by the end of the movie, it's like, I really could have used more of Peter Venkman. And so it's just one of those things where cool to see Dan Aykroyd and Ernie Hudson, a lot of them get a lot of screen time. Bill Murray's kind of the guy that gets the short end of the stick. He doesn't show up in the movie very often. He's in it, definitely more. He gets more to do than just a simple cameo, but at the same time, it almost kind of feels like a guest appearance, if that makes any sense. So I thought they could have used more of Peter Venkman in this movie. That is one character I thought that could have been utilized in the movie a little bit more. There's also a lot of plot points where the plot gets furthered by characters doing dumb choices, and that's really too bad because Mckenna Grace's character from Afterlife, who's very smart and very smart in this movie, is unfortunately one of the characters that does something really stupid that kind of furthers the plot along and to kind of set up the main conflict of the movie. So it's just things like that. They're just like, really, that's how they're going to further the plot, is having the really smart character do something really dumb. It's just like, really, guys. So there is times where the plot does get furthered by characters doing dumb things. So that is kind of one of the downsides of this movie is a lot of the stuff happens in this movie because people make bad choices. So that is one negative of the movie it has. I feel like the whole movie happened because a lot of people were making bad choices. I also thought the trailers for this film did give too much away. So if you haven't seen the trailers for this movie and you are interested in seeing a new Ghostbusters film, for me personally, I would recommend staying away from them. I think you'll have more surprises. I think there is more laughs here. I think some of the better moments were kind of given away in the trailer. So that is kind of one reason why, if you have not seen the trailer for this movie, try to avoid it if you can. I think some of the jokes and some of the specialer moments are going to feel more special to you if you manage to avoid the trailer. I think they did kind of give away a little too much. There is certain jokes here I think that would have landed for me better if I wasn't aware of it from what the trailer showed me already. So this is an unfortunate example of a trailer for a movie giving away a little too much. I also thought the tone of this movie was a little too serious for its own good. It is a Ghostbusters film. It is a comedy. I don't think Ghostbusters has to be a serious drama necessarily, and there's just a lot of moments that kind of feel like that. So I do kind of miss that tone of Afterlife and what the original Ghostbusters set up. I like the more comedic tone of the franchise. I don't like when they tried to take it too seriously. There is some moments here that really do kind of feel like that. So some of the tone in this movie is a little too serious. So I thought hopefully if they do make another Ghostbusters or anything, hopefully they can tone it back to that comedic tone that Afterlife had and what the original Ghostbusters film had as well. So I thought some of the tone in this movie was a little off for me. And overall, the film just wasn't as funny this time around. I mean, it is a comedy. It is Ghostbusters, and some of the jokes here, I think, like I said, could have landed a little bit better. It is. It doesn't help that some of the jokes were given away in the trailer, but I think overall, if they do make another Ghostbusters film, I do hope they punch it up with some better jokes. I do feel like this time around they did try to take it a little too seriously. And for my last negative of the movie, without getting away too many spoilers, um, I do feel like the Ghostbusters team felt a little too fragmented this time around. It does feel like they don't really work as a team, an overall large team, until the very end of the movie. And as the film progresses, there's a fragment of these Ghostbusters going off and doing that, and these Ghostbusters going off and doing that, and the young Ghostbusters doing this, and the older Ghostbusters focusing on that, and one of them getting a podcast made, and one of them doing this, and one of them meeting this character, and one of them meeting this side character, and I would have just preferred a story where they're just working as a team more often in the movie, and it's just really too bad when these three people are put there, and those three people are put there, and those two people are put over there, and it doesn't really feel like they're working as a collective whole as a team. It feels like the team feels too fragmented over the movie, and I didn't really care for that too much. But overall, I'm going to give Ghostbusters Frozen Empire an 8 out of 10. I think it's a good movie. I think it's worth your time. If you like Ghostbusters, absolutely go out and see it. It's definitely not going to offend you in any way. It certainly is not as bad as that 2016 reboot with all the women doing the Ghostbusters team thing. I thought that was very bad. But it is not as good as Afterlife, unfortunately. Like I said, it's a little bit better than Ghostbusters 2 from 1989, but it's not like a far cry of something significantly better than that. So it's a good movie. Definitely go out and see it. 8 out of 10 for me. Just go into it knowing that there is some problems along the way. But if you like Ghostbusters, if you like this franchise, I think you'll have a fun time. It's an 8 out of 10 for me.